A few years back, Jagex introduced the idea of the Six Jad minigame, and it is exactly what it sounds like. You have to fight 6 Jads simultaneously. Now, of course, fighting 6 T-Stock Jads would be completely unacceptable. No, you have to fight 6 of the Inferno Jads, which have more health and a higher max hit. The first time this minigame was available was on the Tournament Worlds, and I gave it a try way back then, and I promptly decided, this shit is impossible. Well, now it's in the game for real. It's a permanent fixture to the game, and the reward for completing it is fantastic. If you manage to kill all 6 Jads, you get a transmog for the Jad pet. You can turn the regular Jad pet into the Inferno Jad pet, and it looks very, very nice. So while I may have struggled on the Tournament Worlds a few years back, I decided, this is actually a part of the game, let's get this done. Now, you're not able to jump straight into the 6th challenge, which of course is the 6 Jads. You have to start with 1 and work your way up, which, you know, I'd like to think of, that's Jagex's way of giving you a courtesy lick. You know, they get you lubed up a little bit before the 6 Jads fuck you. So the challenges, of course, are completely linear. With the first challenge, you only have 1 Jad to kill, which that should hopefully be no problem for you, but hey, you never know. I remember being like 11 years old getting my first fire cape. I was shaking like a leaf. And if you can guess it, on the second challenge, you get 2 Jads. Now on this one, again, nothing special is required. Simply pray whatever you see. No special methods needed. Now, unfortunately, 2 Jads is as high as you can go if you haven't completed the Inferno. I'm gonna be honest, I personally don't agree with that. And the reason why is I'm fighting triple Jads right now, and they're actually not the same as regular triple Jads. The triple Jads in the Inferno don't have the same timing as these ones do. So it's not like you can even practice for the Inferno. So, I don't know. In my opinion, I thought that was kind of dumb, you know? Why not put it in the game? Let everybody have some fun. I would call the 4th challenge the last of the easy challenges. Now, I don't mean that in like a, oh, if you can't do this, then that's, like, I'm not saying that. It's just that this is the last one where you can, again, just flick what you see. No special methods are required. After this, things get quite a bit more difficult. Now, I'm not going to call this video a guide, but if we're here, I may as well try to give you guys some tips that could possibly be helpful. Before you start 5, and definitely before you start 6 Jads, it's really important to understand how the timing of praying against Jad actually works. A lot of people might think as soon as Jad does its attack, you immediately have to pray the correct thing right away, and that is simply not true. Once Jad starts his animation, the time that you need to actually turn your prayer on is 2 ticks later. So this is going to be really, really important, because when it starts the rotation, you can't simply, oh, that maged, I'm gonna keep Pray Mage on until it hits me, because the next Jad has already launched his attack. So you have to very specifically time when you are using your prayers. So if you don't really have a great grasp on it, here's what I recommend. Fight 1 singular Jad and just sit there and only flick your prayers on exactly when necessary. Once you get a feel for that kind of delayed timing, it'll help you a lot with muscle memory once you get into the actual waves. This might sound strange, but in a weird way, the 5 Jad challenge is almost more difficult than the 6 Jad challenge because their timing is irregular. With the 6 Jad challenge, they just go consistently in a circle with the exact same timing across the board, but with 5 Jads, there's some very, very awkward pausing. So it's going to start with the northernmost one, and if you watch carefully what happens is the northern one goes, it pauses for a tick, then the second one goes, and the third one goes the tick after. There's another pause. Then the 4th one goes. There's a small pause after that. Then the 5th one goes, and the first one goes again immediately after, and it follows that. So, with the 6th one, like you'll see, it just goes in a nice smooth circle. With the 5, there's just this really, really awkward gapping. And if you get the hang of it, you know, it's easier because it requires less precision, but it's just awkward, bud. And now, the reason you clicked on the video. The ultimate, super secret, easy way to complete 6 Jads. Pray Mage and wear a Din's Bulwark. You won't take any f***ing damage at all. Now, remember earlier when we practiced the timing of the Jad attacks? That is going to be incredibly important here. You can't just pray whatever, you know, the most recent Jad hits you with. You have to make sure that you have the correct prayer on 2 ticks after the particular Jad in question attacked. So the methodology, what you're trying to do is you need to be using the correct prayer 2 Jads behind the one that just attacked you. Now that sounds ridiculous, but I'm telling you, it's not actually that hard in practice. But that's the objective. You want to be praying the correct thing for the Jad that is 2 behind the current one. If I can try to give you any form of visual example of how to apply this information, the way that my brain works is pretty much like the numbered list on the left-hand side of the screen. You essentially need to observe the Jads and kind of make a list of what attacks are coming. And you just have to remember what attacks you observed previously and make sure you're using the right prayers in order. It's honestly very difficult to make a guide on this. I don't really know how to put it into words well, but that would be my best piece of advice. Look at them like a numbered list and just try to make a mental note of what's coming next. And as if learning how to pray flick them wasn't enough, remember, you have to actually kill them too, which is just an added distraction. Now, I will say the exact same thing I said on my Fire Cape guide like 8 years ago. Do not be distracted. Remember, what is important is getting your prayers right and staying alive. Killing Jad, tagging healers, do that when you can. My advice for that, find an opportunistic moment. If you notice that 3 Jads mage you in a row, you know you don't have to change any prayers anytime soon. Use that as an opportunity to click a healer. The point is, remember what's actually important. You can't kill them if you're not alive. But I guess, like I said, at the end of the day, this isn't a guide, and I would never call it a guide because, frankly, this is impossible to make a guide for. It is so difficult to, instruct people on how to do this because it's one of those things you just gotta hands-on, you know? You gotta get a feel for it yourself. But with all that being said, let's get down to an actual completion. I decided to use a blowpipe for this as, I don't know, I just didn't want to hear people be like, oh, here's another piece of content you need a 1-bill twisted bow for. So, none of that. I give you the blowpipe 6 Jad. Now, I suppose this comes down to personal preference, but after the first one is dead, I actually like to move on to Jad number 4 instead of number 2. Now, the reason I do this is if you kill the southern one, it gives you a nice little break, and it takes the pressure off of your prey flicking, at least a little bit. Now, Jads number 2 and 3 and 5 and 6, they're still going to attack 1 tick after each other, but it's almost like they're 2 sets of 2 instead of 4, if that makes sense. It gives you just a nice little break, so you don't have to be quite as precise with your prey flicking, because it gives you a 1 tick break in between each set. Oh, one more quick tip. Even if there's only 2 Jads left out of 6, don't get too comfortable. Thank God I was brewed up there. Now, weirdly enough, my completion time was 10 minutes and 37 seconds, which was only 31 seconds slower than my Twisted Bow completion. And that begs the question, is the blowpipe OP, or was my Twisted Bow completion just extremely slow? The answer is yes. Well, that's going to be the video. Thank you all very much for watching. Typically, I just upload progress videos, so whenever I upload these kind of random one-off videos, it feels kind of pointless in a way, but you know what? As long as somebody was entertained by this video, then it was worth making. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you all with a new progress video very soon.